y'all, DeSwami here. I hope y'all having a good day as usual. Sorry I haven't posted in a while. I've been kind of busy with my classes. Free time has been kind of devoted to making my own kind of music. So as the video from before, I'm just continuing the Future Bass remix that I made, and I actually kind of ended up just making a whole entire song around the remix and just making it my own. So I didn't want to like exactly remake it or anything, but I think I could just show you what I made from what you guys saw me make from the video, and I just added on a bunch of stuff to it. I didn't add too much in the beginning. I did add this little ARP that sounds like this, like a little pluck from Massive, and it's just like, you know, something really simple, and it just goes over the top of the chords while she's singing. And I just added some hi-hats and some percussion. It used to just be this shaker loop right here, just to progress it. And also another cool thing I did in the beginning is so this is what the chords look like before. They had like these little top notes that was all the way over here, and in the first 8 bars I just muted those top notes so that way it doesn't sound too high pitched. So when the next 8 bars comes in, it sounds like different because the chords are technically a little have more voicing, and it kind of just gave it more character. And yeah. And then same basically progression. I just have the 808s and the kicks playing it from last time, just a little added percussion. And then at the end of every 4 bars I have this like little swelling chord that like rises up like this. And then I just added like a lead line in the next 4 bars because she's kind of not singing in this part, so I wanted something else to be driving the force of the song. So I just made this like little lead line that sounds like this. So yeah, I just went for like that happy future kawaii kind of vibe, and this is kind of the melody I came up with the same instrumentation. At the before the little breakdown section, I added this like little flute sound, and it kind of just like brings it to the next section. It sounds like this. There's a reverb on the actual plugin of this, and I'm just automating it so when the last note plays, the reverb kind of like washes out. And yeah, it just gave that little cool effect to transition into the next. And then the same kind of breakdown that I had before, like the a little melody playing over the top with the claps and the marimba type sounds. And then this is where I left off from the other tutorial. So for the build up, it's just 4 bars compared to all the other 8 bar sections that I already had. And basically what I have is just like a 8th pattern of the kicks, and then I use some build up drums, build up loops from Somatics, and they sound like this. This is the first one I used. And then I also use this one just to layer more energy on top of it. So like this one's more of like a clap build up kind of loop, and then this one's like a little percussion type snare. And then I just added these drop claps on top of it to give it more energy. And then I just added some risers and little effects that sound like this. And then there's like in the acapella pack I used, since this is the Going to the Sun acapella, Asher Postman also included this little vocal sample that sounds like really distorted and glitchy, and I just used that to like bring up the next part of the drop. So yeah, nothing too crazy there. It's just edited the same way as the other vocals. And so for the instrumentation that I have in this build up section, so I kind of did the drop before I did this build up section because I wanted to get like a melody that I can introduce in the drop. and this is what the melody sounded like. And then it kind of just repeats again, just like with a little bit more variation in the notes. And so yeah, and then also what I did is I worked around having like chord stabs that work happen in the drop. So like I used this MIDI. It's like the same chords from earlier, but I'm just like putting a different rhythm on it. So basically, my thought process to this was just work around like the downbeat of the bars, like always have it on the downbeat, and then just have like the other chords play on like when there's a kick playing, or if the note of a melody is playing. And that was kind of just what I worked with. And I just ended up coming up with this like a little rhythm. And for the build up, I used the same like marimba type presets in that I was using in the breakdown section, but instead I just used the MIDI that I have in the drop, and then I just instead of using the same breakdown chords, so that way it like gives it more of an introduction to the drop. So yeah, I'm just basically building up tension for like the rhythm that's going to be used in the drop, and that was kind of my thought process. That's why sometimes I feel like it's better to work on a drop before your build up, so that way it's way more easier to introduce what's going to happen in your drop. And that's exactly what I did here. All right, so and right before the drop, instead of having like the chords playing, I use like the two future bass chords that I have in the second half of the drop, and I just have it filtered in, playing the last two chords of the 4-bar phrase. So like these two chords right here. So yeah, they're just being filtered in through automation, and I'm doing that through the chord bus, as you can see here. And then basically the automation kind of looks like this if you wanted to see it. So what I do is I did like a high cut sweep, so it like swells in, but then I also added this Q factor. So like when it swells in, it like swells in over here. If I open this, so like this little curve right here is being automated, so it like swells up and then it comes down, giving that resonance, like a lot of impact. And it sounds like it just improves the transient of the transition, so it like gives it more of like a funky kind of feel. And yeah, so let's get to the drop now. So yeah, as I explained before, I kind of just came up with this chord pattern, and then what I did is I used 2 layers. They're just basic saw layers, like super saw layers, nothing too special. And then what I did is I bounced it out so that for some of these I could fade them to have like a tape stop effect. This is the easiest way to achieve a tape stop effect in Logic, is by using this fade tool, and then you can right click on the fade or double click, whichever one you use, and you click the slow down, and it'll give that tape stop effect. And yeah, I just have that like wherever I heard it happening in the drop. I didn't want it on everyone, so that way it doesn't like sound like the chords are doing too much, because I wanted the drop to be kind of simple. And then the next part I added on was I actually went on to make the bass, because I wanted it to be like that future happy core kind of vibe. And this is what basically it's just playing whenever the kick isn't playing. So a kick is happening like right here on every 8th note, and the bass is playing on the offbeat, so it gives like that yeah, that little off side trance kind of vibe, or like the happy hardcore kind of vibe. And but when I had it like that, I didn't feel like it was enough. So this is what it used to be before. So like it sounds cool, but I wanted like more impact when the bass hit. So I used the same chord progression that I already had, but I just used these 2 simple like chord presets, and I try to make the transient like really sharp, so when it hits, it sounds like more impactful. and they're just playing really short notes, but they're playing whenever the bass is playing. And then it's just being sidechained by kickstart, but it's still going to the same bus. So this is what was happening on the offbeat. And then if I bring in the kick, it'll get more of an idea. And then yeah, it just gave it more energy once everything came together. And then this is these are the layers I had for the leads. They kind of just look like this. So this one was just like a simple music box from Expand, and it just has like a little extra layering on it. And then I use this Serum patch called Toy Pianos. It's like a key preset and it sounds like this. And then I layered that with a marimba from Serum as well. And then the third one, the last one was just a steel pan. I just like the textures that steel pans gives when you're layering with like mallets and bell instruments, because it gives like that really open sound kind of thing. Like if your sound sounds too narrow, I think adding a steel drum always makes it sound more wide, just because of the nature of the sound it has. So it's always a good sound to add. And then yeah, it's just being compressed through OTT, and on each of these I'm like just doing some subtractive EQ, getting rid of the rumbly frequencies and some harsh frequencies. And then I just have this like little filtered chord to be more of a transition, so I added a little high pass sweep. Yeah, and it gives like that resonant feel like I was talking about earlier. And then I also added this little ARP that's being played by this 8-bit ish type sound. And then yeah, it just has some simple LFO on it just to like make it like really short and plucky. And then I just have that on the coarse pitch just to give it a little variation and have it sound a little detuned. And then yeah, just a little snare fill. I want to talk about my kick a little bit. So before, when I first made the track, it was just this kick, which has like a lot of impact and didn't really need that much editing. I just did like a little cut right here just to make it more punchy and boxy. When I ended up finishing the mix, it had like no impact when I played it with all the other instruments. So what I did is I got another kick sample that had like a nice click to it, and I just grabbed it and did a really steep low cut, and I took away some extra frequencies right here, and then I did a high shelf boost around 1500 or 15,000 hertz, and it just gave that extra click, and it really made it pop out when in the rest of the mix. And yeah, there really isn't any extra editing to these kicks because they just sat in the mix really well. And then I made it like a really simple fill, and it just looks like this. So yeah, just a really simple fill to bring in the next part. And I also have this last chord being washed out, like with that high cut or low cut sweep again. And then yeah, it's just kind of like washing it out to introduce the next part of the drop. And this is like the future bass part of the drop. So for the same vocal chops, I just chopped up I used the same distorted vocal chop that was already included, and then I just added this like extra phrase on top of it because I wanted her to still say going to the sun, because in this vocal chop she doesn't say going to the sun, she just says going to the, and then I added this extra vocal chop right here. Yeah, we're going to the sun. And then I just like chopped it up a little because I wanted it to like have like a little stutter effect compared to the chords. So basically I have the same melody that was being played from the build up or the breakdown section, and I just layered it a bunch, and these are the layers I used. This is just a Serum patch. that I got from a sample pack. So this is like the main course of the sound, and then I just added this layer and just have like that more high-end kind of tone to it. And then I just wanted this extra last layer just to give it more of a texture. These are all serum patches, all from the same sample pack. And for the chords, I used basically just 2 layers. So this first layer sounds like this. Oh, well, that's why I didn't say 3 layers, because I used the layer of white noise, and it's basically just being automated the same way. So this one is the first patch. It has like this little attack, pitchy attack to it. And then I have this second layer on top of it. So this is like the more meat of the sound, but together they sound really good because one of them has like that pitchy attack that sounds really nice. And then just to make it like more have more energy, I just added a white noise on top of it, which is being like really high cut and has a lot of chorus on it. And then this is what the 2 basses sound like. So I'm using like a really hard sub, and then this is just like for the little mid bass to get that grittiness. And all these tracks are actually being routed to a sidechain bus, but on the sidechain bus I don't have a compressor. What I'm using is gain automation. I think I've said this in my other previous videos, but I use gain automation because sometimes I feel like compressors ruin the sound that I get. And I kind of just like work around that instead of using a compressor. So this is what the sidechain bus sounds like. So like if I didn't have the gain on, it would sound like way too much is going on with the kick. Like you could barely hear the kick, but with that gain automation, it really makes like a huge difference, even if it's like really short. So like the kick just really cuts through the mix. And I'm also automating like the chord bus when the next part of the drop comes in, because again I kind of wanted it to have like that transition feel. And then yeah, for this second part right here, there was like nothing happening here. So what I did is I got the same reverb bus that I used for the chords, and I just automated it. So once this part comes in after the snare hits, you hear like the reverb like wash in, and then it automatically mutes right when the next part comes in. And then the drums are really simple. Oh, I also have the ARP from the beginning playing in the just because I wanted it to have like more energy and like more melodic stuff happening in the background. And so yeah, and then the drums are really simple. I'll just mute the bus and the kick, so there's nothing too crazy going on. So I just have this simple like 4 on the floor or 8th note pattern for the hi-hats, and it's just like creating that kind of groove. And I just have this like little loop, fill loop I made a while ago, and yeah, and then the snare. So yeah, that's basically what I did for the first drop. Oh, I also used like a vocal chop part. So there was also included in the vocal stems this vocal chop that was that was provided, and I just got it into key and whatnot. And then what I did is I added shaper box to it, and I used a preset. I guess this one's called Full Beat Down Break 3, and it sounds like this. I just thought this was cool because on every 4th beat of the bar, like this part like really pops out, like compared to all the other parts, and that's where a lot of the silence is happening in the chords, so it kind of just stood out. If you listen to it in context, it sounds like this. And yeah, it just gave that like cool vibe. And also there is another part I forgot to mention on the chords. So right here, I used to have it used to be empty for the chords, but I extended the chords, and what I did is I actually automated it, so it kind of like swells in, because I'm also automating like the LFO rate on these chords, so like when it comes in. So yeah, just like a little cool effect, just to like change it up compared to the first drop, because I am using like a really simple melody lead line, and it can get repetitive, but if you like change up what you're doing in your drop, I think it could still be a really useful melody. And then let's get to the breakdown. So for the breakdown, after the risers and whatnot, I just bring in the like the marimba preset again, and like the little bells, and then I just like switch up the groove. But I'm also using this like the vocal chop. I use this last vocal chop of like of the bar, and then I just kept repeating that because I felt like it had like a cool rhythm with the chords that were being played. And then yeah, there's that little lead transition, so that you know it's coming into the next part. And then I just have like the bells continuing playing. And then I have it after the 8-bar chord progression finishes, it comes back to the breakdown. Instead of having an 8-bar breakdown section, the breakdown is only 4 bars now. And after 4 bars, it goes immediately into the build-up. So this is where the second drop gets like really crazy. I wanted the second drop to be way more memorable than the first drop, and like a whole different type of feel. So the first drop was kind of like it was playing around with the pockets and like the silence between the like the chord stabs, and that was like my main intention, so everything fit into a certain pocket. And the second one has like a bunch of like wet sounds, like filled with reverb and like really big vibrato sounds. And I kind of just changed the melody to like a kind of more simpler melody, like something more easier to remember, but it has like way different instrumentation, but still kind of like the same kind of vibe as the first drop. So yeah, it's the same thing basically, but now there's way more chord stacks being used, and I have the same offbeat chords, but now I also have like a piano being played in addition to the chords already. So now there's like way more instrumentation being played. Just to give it like more of a punch and impact when the chords are hitting now, because without it, the leads would be really overpowering in the mix. And so now this is what the leads sound like. So yeah, I used a bunch of different lead presets. This one is from Silent. It's from an Echo Soundworks pack. And yeah, it's just like a really vibrato lead. So this is what the first layer sounds like. So like it's a really this is the main layer, and it's a really simple lead line, but yeah, it really becomes efficient because most of these presets are using like really slidey vibrato-y notes. And then the second layer sounds like this. I'm panning each of these leads a little to the left and a little to the right because they're kind of being layered all together, and I don't want them all hitting on the same spot in the stereo image. and all these are being routed to the same lead bus. And then also I added this like snare being played on every other kick. Oh, also when the those little chords are being filtered in at the end of 4 bars, I also have this like little triplet art being played. The MIDI, like, it's like really off the grid, and it just sounds like this. So yeah, something just like a little lead to be filtering in when nothing is really playing. And then yeah, that's basically all I did. The second drop is pretty much completely the same as the first one. But what I did do differently is what I did do differently is so for this vocal, or what I thought I did was pretty cool is I like edited the vocals a little bit. So I use the same kind of distorted vocal that I've been using, but there's also this like little vocal buildup that's already included in the acapella. And then I just kind of like duplicated her saying "we." So what I did for this distorted one, I put this tremolo effect on it, and what it's doing, it's like kind of like panning the sound really fast, or the audio really fast, and at a 1/16th rate to like the left and right ear. If you just listen to it, like, it sounds kind of weird by itself, but with all the vocals together, it kind of just gave this like really cool effect. Because like this one is like being played front and center, but it's like stuttering, and this one is kind of like straightforward, but it's like panning to the left and the right, and I thought I just gave this really cool effect. And that was like a cool way to introduce the next part of the final part of the song. So yeah, I think that was basically it. Sorry this wasn't might not have been like the full kind of tutorial that I'd hoped to make, but I just ended up getting really backed up on a lot of assignments, and I didn't really have time to make a video, because at least you get to see like this thought process, or like my workflow and like my ideas when I'm working with a remix, at least from the first part. So now you get to see like the ability to like just keep progressing on initial ideas so that you can make a full song like this length. But yeah, I was really proud of what this turned out to be. So yeah, you can listen to the full song dropping on Thursday. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I needed to say. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe as usual. I'll begin posting way more because I finished most of my exams, so now I can like relax off my studying time. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.